I used to joke with Andrew that this was all we could make with our one-year term in our spare time. Strides, not progress. But after serving this fraternity for 3 years, I think we have indeed made substantial progress. I first ran for e-board because I thought Libby was an idiot.
Nice.
And I thought I could do a better job than him and everyone else. When I was elected, the 7 of us, all newcomers, were told nothing about how to run the fraternity, except that we were not allowed to be wrong, so we should ensure that doesn't happen. E-board was a joke. Our fraternity had a shoddy infrastructure. There was no accountability, and we were broke. The kingdom we had inherited was worse than the new Afghan government post-American occupation. We were to harness our idealism and excitement and turn them into bricks and mortar to erect something that at least resembled a national fraternity. Strides, not progress. In the beginning, there was the All-Spark. I'm just kidding. In the beginning, we fast realized the limitations of our office and demands that we quickly had to fulfill. We had no risk management or crisis management policy, so I had them written. We had no guide of conduct, and the reputation of our brothers across schools differed across the board. So I compiled the Compendium of Brotherhood to mitigate this. Nibs often didn't receive guidance on how to act after crossing, so we had a guide made. I thought at the time that given our limitations in resources, that a treatise could be made for everything, and that would solve all our problems. What I didn't account for was that brothers wouldn't take the time to read it. Strides, not progress. To mitigate this recurring reality, I began attending workshops in my graduate school, directed at PhD students teaching classes on leadership skills and how to be an effective communicator of information. I began attending conferences, something we had never done before, AFA, NAPA, NIC, to take part in the conversation, share the struggles, and learn from those who have already mastered the art of running fraternities, that we might benefit from their wisdom, mistakes, and successes. I began traveling as a consultant to different chapters and chaperoning leadership conferences, occurring 15,000 miles in the first 4 months of this year, which averaged out to about every single weekend. My mom even began all phone calls and email correspondences with, "What city are you in today?" Strides, not progress. Back when I pledged, my pledge master, Zeus, father of this King Cobra, taught me that if and when I become a brother, Sigma Beta Rho will become my last name. By this he meant that as a brother, everyone would know that I was a brother, and thus I would be representing the fraternity with every word and action. He spoke to me thus of accountability. Now, as your outgoing national president, I have become, or had become, the de facto Mr. Sigma Beta Rho, at least 2 Greek directors, many of whom I have met on my visits. But the lesson of accountability is one that I sought to stretch throughout the nation. I renovated all the BOS and EOS reports so they would become tangible blueprints for the following semester, rather than perceived as useless formalities. I created the values-based grading rubric, tiered by colony, associate chapter, and chapter, so that each school will be held accountable to standardized expectations. I eradicated the N-word from the national listserv, something I consider one of my most important accomplishments, despite it being the most likely to be forgotten, and yet probably the least appreciated. By changing the listserv culture, I think it will all be better off. I had hoped that after a few years, the pattern of success I strove to cultivate in our chapters would become second nature and would maintain themselves. Strides, not progress. But we have made progress. We have a permanent philanthropy partner, where before we somehow change philanthropies every year. We have over 100 grand in our bank account, thanks to Joy and Shalala, where before we had nothing. Our letters, name, motto, and symbols have all been trademarked, thanks to Sohan. where before anyone could use them. 3 years ago, expansion was frozen because everything about our infrastructure was a total mess. Since then, all credit to Gino, we've expanded or re-expanded to 15 schools, including 4 revivals, notably our Alpha chapter. Just to put that in perspective, in the past 3 years, Gino has more or less established 1/3 of the chapters in our fraternity. Our Gamma chapter is finally recognized after a long, long battle. We've also had to shut down 5 schools, the first time we have truly enforced accountability. No need to We have a lawyer-crafted and affirmed national constitution, where before we had the product of a handful of college kids. We have a 5-year plan, where before our vision changed with each new influx of executive board members. We now have an executive advisor, our position that I will fill until a more formal board of directors can be instituted to maintain continuity. We are a far different organization than we were 3 years ago. We have made much progress. But there is still much to be done. The alumni still need to be mobilized in an effective way. The standard of excellence is yet to ring true across all of the Cobra Nation, as indicated by chapters that were suspended or closed down. Dues, unfortunately, will have to be raised, and I know that nobody will be happy with this. But the fact of the matter is that as an organization with our size, we cannot be run by part-time individuals. We need a full-time staff member to attend to the brunt of day-to-day operations. It is my goal that within 5 years, I hope we'll be able to afford one. While obviously it will cost more money, you will have a better fraternity as a result, as the overall value of the organization will swell in due course. I therefore ask you to put aside your Guja proclivities and pay the cost.
Funny.
A sister to one of our national founding fathers and good friend of mine often calls me King of the Goons. As endearing a title as it is, to me it signifies a problem. That we are not taken seriously, that we are but lowlifes who won't amount to anything. But I tell you that we are so much more, and to accept such an expectation is not only unambitious, but shameless brothers who work where they don't have to work, that we may exemplify what it means to be a fraternity man. We have grown much from a group of guys drinking 40s in the basement. Our founders are proud of our growth. I know because I asked them. But let us be a brotherhood they would recommend their sons to pledge, and whose members their daughters would date, but not at the same time. As I reflect on my time as a brother, both before Ebor and during, as well as the lessons I learned while pledging, and how well I've been able to apply them to life, I can call to mind several thoughts worth sharing. First, my line brothers, who were there 6 years ago to support me, are still here today as a testament to the unwavering quality of our brotherhood. I hope that all of you will be able to relate to this in time. Second, thanks to hanging around so many Indians, I have developed a taste for scotch. Except I prefer single malts, and I can't fathom why you all prefer black label. To a drop when you don't have to dilate with soda or ice. Lastly, I'm very grateful to our founders. And Nuj is here today with his beautiful and far more comely wife. He always unconditionally and indiscriminately showed me love, even when I was a no-name nib and cute. And Max. Max, to me, is a model brother. He has been with us since before we knew what our letters were, and is here today, 15 years later. It was only recently, when I was brainstorming the curriculum for a workshop I did at my alma mater this past semester, that I realized how much the Chi's placed upon our hands represent Sigma Beta Rho pledging their entirety. We pledge and were sworn into a lifelong brotherhood. Max's sustained interest in and activity with the brotherhood serves as a perfect exemplar of this, and his willingness to engage with any idiot in conversation without condescension further makes him an exemplar of humility. But then again, look at the guy. Other than us and his far younger wife, he doesn't have much to boast about. I'm kidding. SigRho was Max's love child. He would stand up for us that we might recognize him. Max. And at the pool today, you may have seen that he's still carrying the postpartum weight. I'm kidding, baby. I'm going to poke fun because I love you. While this past year has indubitably been the most taxing thus far in my life, it has also been extraordinarily rewarding. I am grateful that I've had such an excellent executive board. And just because he needs to be recognized, I have to show some love to Gino for being the man behind the scenes for everything and finishing 3 terms with me. I didn't even know him before we were both elected, but now we talk every day. Sometimes it's no homo, sometimes it is. And then there's Andrew, my co-conspirator of reintroducing colonialism and subjugating South Asians. But just like everyone else, he thinks he's black and likes Indian girls. He's short-tempered. He attends conference calls while running around his block. He doesn't stop talking, especially when time is limited. He's a pain in the ass to deal with, but I couldn't have gotten through the year without him. He's been there for me to kvetch to about how useless I think most of you are, especially when he's on rotations. I can't tell you enough, though, how lucky you are to have him as your next president. I don't think there's ever been a brother in the history of fraternity who's been more prepared and more qualified for the role. Lastly, I thank all of you present here today for taking the road less traveled and coming to convention. You will find, I promise, that it does make all the difference. Society, brotherhood, and remembrance. These are all good things. Thank you.